It all started on a Monday. Mondays, as everyone knows, are suspicious in nature, but this one in particular had a whiff of drama before the coffee even kicked in. I sat at my desk, chewing on the plastic tip of my pen, debating whether replying to 48 unread emails now or after my I survived the weekend espresso ritual. That's when I noticed Bob. Bob from accounting was a man of mysterious habits. His desk was clutter-free, his tie always too perfect, and his time card suspiciously immaculate. That day, however, Bob was not crunching numbers. No, he was crunching popcorn, with the second screen open to what I could only describe as a Netflix crime thriller marathon. At first, I thought maybe he was on lunch break, or part of some experimental creative accounting inspiration initiative. But 40 minutes in, with no spreadsheet in sight, Bob was still emotionally invested in whatever cliffhanger was going down. And to my astonishment, he clocked the full 8 hours on his timesheet, as he always did. It wasn't just Bob. There was also Sarah from marketing. Sarah had the work ethic of a caffeinated beaver until recently. I'd seen her disappear every day for coffee breaks that suspiciously aligned with Starbucks happy hour. A simple chai latte didn't take 40 minutes to acquire, and yet, her timesheets read 9 to 5 like a perfect attendance award. I began to wonder, was I surrounded by time thieves? Not the Ocean's 11 kind, but more like oceans of wasted time. And more importantly, should I say something? I did what any responsible adult would do in a moment of professional ethical turmoil. I Googled. Turns out, Bob and Sarah were not just isolated slackers, they were part of a vast, stealthy movement. According to business.com, a whopping 67% of employees admit to stealing from their workplace in some form. While some walk off with a stapler or 3, many steal something far more valuable: time. 24% of workers admitted to inflating their hours on timesheets, essentially creating fictional workdays out of thin air. On average, employees steal 4.5 hours per week this way. Multiply that over a year and you're looking at more than 30 full workdays. Poof. And that's just the warm-up. Other surveys revealed things that made my jaw drop mid-coffee sip. More than half of workers, 54% to be exact, confess to doing chores on the clock. Cooking, cleaning, even laundry. Forget hustle culture. We've entered the era of domestic duties. Incorporated. One brave soul even admitted to watching TV while using remote work as a cover. My favorite statistic: Gen Z workers were 18 percentage points more likely than baby boomers to commit workplace theft. I could practically hear the TikToks now. Watch me make ramen and build a PowerPoint at the same time. #ProductiveAF. All jokes aside, the financial impact is no laughing matter. TerraMind estimated that U.S. businesses lose 20% of every dollar to time theft. That's $400 billion a year in imaginary work. For smaller businesses, the damage is more personal, losing an average of $35,000 annually. That's like handing your lazy nephew a company credit card and just hoping he only buys gas. At this point in my research, I had transformed from curious observer into full-blown data detective. The numbers were sobering. Companies were losing massive revenue and employees weren't even subtle about it. Yet, the real twist came when I stumbled upon a 2025 study in behavioral sciences. Researchers had interviewed 330 hourly employees and discovered that many were not stealing time just for kicks. Nope, it was payback. A lot of workers felt that their employers were stealing their time, expecting them to respond to emails at midnight, work through lunch, or attend quick syncs that last an hour. So they stole back. A few extra minutes on the clock? Revenge, not laziness. The study even gave this behavior a name: work connectivity behavior, or WCB. The more employers encroached on personal time, the more employees felt justified in fudging their hours. It was corporate karma, one timestamp at a time. And the plot thickened. Apparently, employees with better relationships with their managers, the kind who say good morning, and not just did you send that yet, were less likely to commit time theft. High trust meant high integrity. Bad management, meanwhile, bred silent rebellions with a side of Netflix. So now here I was with more information than I bargained for, faced with a complicated moral question. Should I report Bob? Should I snitch on Sarah? There were two sides to this ethical coin. On one hand, reporting time theft felt righteous. We're all supposed to be rowing the same boat. If one person lounges with their oar while the rest of us paddle, the ship turns into the Titanic. On the other hand, tattling? What would I even say? Hey boss, I think Bob's taking the concept of streamlined workflow a little too literally. It wasn't just about being right, it was about consequences. Reporting someone could ruin their career. What if Bob was just burned out? Or Sarah was dealing with something personal? A formal HR complaint could trigger a whole investigation. Or worse, team tension, side eyes in the hallway, fewer birthday cupcakes. I had to tread carefully. I decided to observe a little longer. Bob wasn't always watching shows. In fact, on Thursday he came in early, skipped lunch, and fixed an Excel nightmare that saved the company from billing $12,000 incorrectly. Sarah, I noticed, used her long coffee breaks to listen to industry podcasts. She came back full of ideas, most of which eventually got us our highest performing campaign that quarter. Were they still breaking the rules? Technically, yes. But their contributions complicated the picture. It was not laziness, it was flexible working, poorly communicated. That's when I realized something. The real villain here was not Bob or Sarah. It was the broken system. A system that demanded rigid hours but offered flexible expectations. A system that tracked mouse movement but ignored mental health. A system that punished the 5-minute break but expected 11 p.m. emails. To be fair, some folks really do exploit the system. Those should be addressed. But blanket surveillance and punitive policies are not the solution either. According to Employ, 96% of companies now use time tracking tools. These range from keystroke monitors to webcam checks to full-blown screen recordings, and 56% of employees report high anxiety from being watched like lab rats. Even worse, 54% said they consider quitting the job that monitored them too heavily. That's not productivity, that's paranoia. What companies really need isn't more tracking, it's more trust. When employees feel seen, heard, and fairly treated, they don't need to fudge time. They show up because they want to, not because a screen blinks when they go to the bathroom. So instead of hitting the HR panic button, I decided to try something radical. I talked to Bob. We shared a coffee, on our own time, mind you. I brought up the Netflix thing gently, jokingly. He sighed and said, "You caught me." But it was background noise. I've been pulling double duty since Josh left, and sometimes I just need to zone out. Fair enough. He then mentioned he was trying to get approval for a new hire for months, but it was stuck in budget limbo. He was exhausted. I nodded. I got it. Next, I asked Sarah about her coffee breaks. She laughed and confessed that yes, they were longer than policy allowed. But they were sanity breaks. Her creative role demanded fresh ideas, and sometimes that meant escaping the cubicle jungle. That's when I knew what looked like theft was often just coping. So I did report something, but not to HR. I reported it to myself. A reminder that workplaces are human systems. Not every misstep needs a consequence. Sometimes what people really need is a conversation. Flexibility. Trust. Still, I didn't let it slide completely. I brought up to leadership, not individuals, just the bigger picture. I suggested we create more flexible policies, shorter meetings, clearer remote expectations, a system where people didn't have to cheat to feel balance. To my surprise, they listened. We rolled out a trial, flexible hours for creative teams, honest lobbying with no penalties for midday breaks, and a bi-weekly check-in to see how people felt about their time. A few months in, productivity didn't drop, it rose. People felt respected. Less need for sneakiness, fewer Boflix moments. As for me, I still don't love Monday mornings. But now I know that just because someone is not at their desk at 10:04 a.m. does not mean they're not working. And if someone really is gaming the system, habitually, excessively, there's a process for that too. Quiet observation, fair judgment, and a willingness to see the whole person, not just the timestamp. So the next time you see someone stealing time, ask yourself, are they stealing or surviving? Then act not with suspicion, but with curiosity. Because in the end, time isn't just money. It's also trust. And there you have it, the strange, sneaky, sometimes sympathetic world of workplace time theft. And if you found this video relatable, hit that like and subscribe. Until next time, keep it honest, keep it human. And maybe just maybe close that Netflix tab. Peace out, time travelers.